The Word or Logos was in the beginning with God, and the light shone in the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. This light was in the world and among men, but of those only a small number were capable of comprehending it. The author of the Gospel of St. John definitely indicates that the deepest being enfolded in Jesus of Nazareth was the living Spirit, the living Word, the Logos himself. The most important and essential point in the eyes of Christians of St. John and the Rosicrucians was precisely the fact that in each human soul something exists which directly bears upon and is connected with the events which occurred in Palestine through Christ Jesus. Every human soul is open to an experience which is expressed by the word awakening or rebirth or initiation. Rudolf Steiner on the Gospel of St. John, Lecture 1, Kassel, St. John's Day, 1909. My dear friends, the celebration of a particular festival on the present day of the year was a custom to which a large portion of aspiring humanity adhered, and it is a matter of importance for the friends of the anthroposophical movement assembled with us in this city that the present series of lectures should begin precisely on Midsummer or St. John's Day. As long ago as in ancient Persia, a festival known as the, quote, baptism of fire and water, end quote, was associated with a day which would roughly correspond to a day in June at the present time. In ancient Rome, the festival of Vesta fell on a similar day in June, and that again was a festival of, quote, baptism by fire, end quote. And if we look back upon European civilization before the spread of Christianity, we again find a June festival which coincided with the time of the year when the days begin to shorten and the nights to lengthen, when the sun begins to lose a part of the strength he lavishes upon all growth and increase on earth. To our European ancestors, this June festival appeared as a gradual withdrawal and disappearing of the god Baldur, who in their minds was associated with the sun. In Christian times, this same festival gradually became that of St. John, the forerunner of Christ Jesus. Thus, it can also be our starting point for the considerations to which we will devote ourselves during the next few days, bearing upon this most important event in the evolution of humanity, upon the deed of Christ Jesus. Indeed, the subject of the present course of lectures will be founded upon the whole import of this deed for the evolution of humanity, and upon its manner of presentation, firstly, in the most significant of human documents, in the Gospel according to St. John, then, by comparison, in the other Gospels. The festival of St. John reminds us that the greatest individuality who participated in the evolution of humanity was preceded by a, quote, forerunner, end quote. And we here touch upon an important point which must precede our further considerations. Also as a kind of, quote, forerunner, end quote, in the course of the development of humanity there occur, ever and again, events of surpassing importance, shedding a stronger light than others. We can observe these essential occurrences in epoch after epoch of history, and ever and again we are told of men who, in a measure, know of them in advance and can foretell their coming. These are no arbitrary events. Indeed, whoever has insight into the whole meaning and spirit of human history is aware that such events must come and knows how he himself must work in preparation for them to take place. During the next few days we shall often have occasion to speak of the forerunner of Christ. Today we shall consider him from the standpoint that he was one of those who, by virtue of special spiritual gifts, have a deeper insight into things and know that there are supereminent moments in the evolution of humanity. Hence, he was fitted to pave the way for Christ Jesus. But when we look upon Christ Jesus himself, we clearly realize that the division of chronology into epochs before and after his appearance upon earth is not without good reason. By adhering to this division, Humanity, to a large extent, shows that it is sensible of the incisive significance of the Christ mystery. But whatever is real and true must ever and again be proclaimed in new forms and new ways, for the requirements of humanity alter from epoch to epoch. Our time needs, in a sense, a new enunciation of this greatest of events in the history of man, and it is the will of anthroposophy to be this enunciation. This anthroposophical enunciation is new only in respect of its form. Its content, the subject of these lectures, was for centuries taught within our European civilization and spiritual life. The one difference between the former and the present enunciation is that the latter may be addressed to a wider circle. The smaller circles within which this teaching has been heard for centuries recognized the same sign which you see here before you, the rosy cross. This may therefore again stand as the symbol of the same enunciation, now that the latter finds its way to a greater public. Let me now figuratively describe the foundations upon which this Rosicrucian enunciation of Christ Jesus rested. The Rosicrucians, not the strange new group being founded in America and California using the same name, are a community which has cultivated since the 14th century a genuinely spiritual Christianity within the sphere of European spiritual life. Apart from all exterior historical forms, this Rosicrucian society sought to reveal the deepest truths of Christianity to its followers, whom it also called, quote, Christians of St. John, end quote. An understanding of this expression, quote, Christians of St. John, end quote, will enable us, if not to explain with our intellect, at any rate to grasp within our presentiment the whole spirit and tenor of the following lectures. You all know the opening words of the Gospel of St. John. Quote, In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. The same was in the beginning with God. End quote. The Word or Logos was in the beginning with God, and the light, it is further said, shone in the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. This light was in the world and among men, but of those only a small number were capable of comprehending it. Then there appeared the Word made flesh as a man, in a man whose forerunner was the Baptist, John. And now we see how they who had to some extent grasped the significance of this appearance of Christ upon earth are at pains to explain the real nature of Christ. The author of the Gospel of St. John definitely indicates that the deepest being enfolded in Jesus of Nazareth was naught else than the being out of which all beings proceeded, that it was the living Spirit, the living Word, the Logos himself. The other evangelists were also at pains, each in his own way, to describe what actually appeared in Jesus of Nazareth. The author of the Gospel of St. Luke endeavors to show how something quite especial appeared when, through the baptism of Christ Jesus by John the Baptist, the Spirit united itself with the body of Jesus of Nazareth. The same writer goes on to show how this Jesus of Nazareth is a descendant of a line of ancestors reaching far, far back into the past. We are told that the genealogical tree of Jesus of Nazareth reaches back to David, to Abraham, to Adam, and even to God himself. We find it clearly indicated that Jesus of Nazareth was the son of Joseph. Joseph was the son of Heli, then he was the son of David, and further, he was the son of Adam, and Adam was the Son of God. That is to say, the writer of St. Luke's Gospel lays special stress on the fact that from Jesus of Nazareth, on whom the Spirit descended at the baptism of St. John, a direct line of descent can be traced to him whom he calls the father of Adam, God. Such things must absolutely be taken literally. In the Gospel of St. Matthew, the attempt is made to trace the lineage of Jesus of Nazareth back to Abraham, to whom God revealed himself. Thus, the individuality who is the bearer of Christ, indeed, the whole advent of Christ is represented not only as one of the greatest, but as the very greatest of phenomena in the evolution of humanity. What is here unmistakably expressed can be put in the following simple words. If Christ Jesus was regarded by those who had an inkling of his greatness as the most momentous figure in the evolution of humanity upon earth, there must be some connection between this same Christ Jesus and the holiest, most essential element in man himself. There must be something within man which is in direct correspondence with the Christ event. If Christ Jesus is, as stated in the Gospels, really represents the greatest event in the evolution of mankind, must there not be in all things and in each human soul some bond of union with Christ Jesus? Indeed, the most important and essential point in the eyes of Christians of St. John and the Rosicrucians was precisely the fact that in each human soul something exists which directly bears upon and is connected with the events which occurred in Palestine through Christ Jesus. Moreover, if the Christ event may be called the supreme event for humanity, the element which corresponds to the Christ event in the human soul must be the supreme feature in man. What can this be? The Rosicrucian answer to this question was that every human soul is open to an experience which is expressed by the word, quote, awakening, end quote, or, quote, rebirth, end quote, or initiation.